was at IIT Kharagpur, and January come, I had the opportunity to join AIT, and I did that. Um, so many of you probably are familiar these days. There is internet. There are a number of WhatsApp groups. Maybe you have friends or seniors or colleagues or relatives that probably are in the US or elsewhere. So maybe you know more compared to the times that I was a student at TNAU. But nonetheless, I do want to share the opportunities in the US for furthering education is plenty. It may sound like it is a difficult thing to do, but we as professors continue to look for students. And for your benefit, the students from TNAU have come to USA. They all have done exceptionally well. So the TNAU students have a very good reputation for excelling academically. So your opportunities to be admitted, especially with assistantship or scholarship, is pretty good. All you need to do is to make an effort. And if you keep that as a goal, obviously not everybody can succeed, but those who are in the upper 10% or 20-25% in academic performance would have a much easier time than not. So I would encourage you to study hard and study well, and keep your academic performance at the top upper level. One thing that normally requires for academic admission in the US is most of the institutions require that you take TOEFL or IELTS, and normally we do well. I'm talking about students from TNAU, but it probably takes some effort. Most institutions are now not requiring GRE. So if you think GRE is a difficult exam, many institutions are not requiring. For example, in Wisconsin, we do not require GRE for admission. So there are a number of institutions that do not require GRE. So you may want to check the admission requirement in institutions that you're interested in. A key factor that determines the success in getting admission in the USA is the matching of your research interest. We do not admit students because they want to study. We admit students because they want to do research. So you need to have a reasonably focused research plan or an idea what is that you want to do. So if you have that, then it becomes a lot easier. So I would say during the third or fourth year, you should start developing an interest in a certain subject area. You don't have to know specifically what you want to do, but at least a broad subject area maybe you're interested in. Food engineering or structures or farm machinery and power. So you would have a pretty good idea. And then I would encourage you to develop a close relationship with one or two professors on TNAU campus, and then they can provide you maybe additional input in terms of what kind of research activities are needed or being carried out in international institutions. It's not necessary that I advocate you come to USA or any international. You can also pursue higher education in India itself. The point here is that I encourage more of you to think about furthering your education beyond your undergraduate. And if you are happy with your undergraduate, go on a workforce, that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But it does pay you to pursue your higher education and see what additional opportunities it may bring. So that's something that I encourage you to consider. Again, if you want to come to USA, it is not as hard or as impossible as some of you may be thinking about. The opportunities are plentiful. We are always looking for students, as students are looking for projects and opportunities. So I encourage you to develop a sense of what is that you want to do, and maybe a little bit of research online, and identify which universities, the kind of work that you're interested in doing are being pursued. then it makes it easier. If it's basically a matching of your interests and a professor's work. And if that match happens and you happen to be a reasonably good student, you will have a very, very good success. It's not necessary that you should have a perfect GPA. I don't know what is a GPA scale here, 4.0 or 10.0, I'm not sure. So it is not necessary that you should be a perfect student. And many of us, when you're an undergraduate, we focus so much on GPA, not on learning and thinking, and that makes a big difference. That is the major difference between academics in India versus, I think, in US. The emphasis is more on self-development here rather than rote memorization and getting marks. Getting marks and grades are important, but it is not as important as your ability to think well and intellectually pursue a certain topic of your choice. So I want you to focus on thinking about how you develop yourself. And one way to do that is to read widely, read deeply. And I want you to develop the habit of reading more than what is required in your exams, right? So you want to read more. And another important aspect is your ability to communicate, especially in writing. So whenever you apply for admission, you're asked to write at least 1 or 2 essays to describe what motivates you, what is your interest in pursuing. So the ability to convey your thoughts very lucidly and cogently and well-organized manner is important. And many of us are not as good in writing and speaking as we would like to be. And in fact, I'm still learning, and I'm sure everybody can improve in their communication ability. So it's something that I want to emphasize, that you should improve your communication, especially in writing. Of course, in speaking too, but I'm talking about applying time. Sometimes professors may want to set up a Teams meeting or Zoom call just to find out how your communication skills are or what you really want to do. So those times the verbal communication become very important as well. So you need to develop those skills, and I'm not sure whether the TNAU curriculum now allows you to give public presentations either to your class or in a different forum. So that is something that I would emphasize, that the professors at the university should also facilitate for the students to be able to stand in front of a group of peers to be able to talk. As it is said that public speaking is one of the major fears of all people. I'm not just talking about teenage students, but students here as well. So I think we can facilitate better communication skills, verbal and written English skills will be at most important in succeeding in life, not necessarily in higher education, but also either you are an entrepreneur or you work for any other enterprise. Your communication skills can really set you apart. I'm not sure anything else that you want to specifically for me to talk about. I can probably stop here and take questions if that's appropriate. Maybe I can elaborate based on the questions that I get from you.
Dr. Guna, I would like you to explain your work till now you have done. I know you worked on cheese 20 years back. Right? You were supposed to be the cheese king those days, as we used to call it in circle. And then you worked on biotechnology or whatever. I don't know exactly. Can you explain to the students which area you have worked on it? And probably guide them which areas are the future now in the same line you're working, probably for a few minutes more.
All right, I worked on a few different things. I think when I was a PhD student in Illinois, Syed actually visited me in Urbana-Champaign, and at that time I was actually working on grain quality, and so quality and safety has been the main focus of my work. And with that as a focus, only the technology that I applied has shifted. So I realized that I'm a food engineer. So in terms of food, nothing more important than safety. You cannot consume food that is not safe. If the food is not of good quality, the safety gets compromised. So safety and quality has been the underlying theme. When I was my PhD student, I was in Illinois. Illinois, if you may not know, it is the primary corn state. So corn or maize is the primary crop. So I worked on how to determine the quality of corn kernels, and I was one of the very first ones to use laser-based optical detection technology. Then I applied computer vision or machine vision or computer processing to evaluate the quality of grain. When I came to Wisconsin, again, I'm not sure many of you may not know this. Wisconsin is called the dairy land of United States. We have a lot of cows and we make a lot of cheese. So I started applying quality evaluation of dairy products, cheese in particular. In fact, I have a book called Cheese Rheology and Texture. And so I try to emphasize how do we make cheese that is intended for different purposes better. For example, the cheese that is used on pizza is very different than the cheese that is used on, say, nachos or sliced cheeses or string cheese. So there are different kind of, in fact, there are more than 1,000 different varieties of cheeses in the world, if you can believe it. So I developed technology to determine how you can evaluate the quality and safety of dairy foods. And then more recently, as technology has driven in terms of nanoparticles and nanomaterials, now I use synthesized nanomaterials like gold nanoparticles, silver nanoparticles, carbon nanotubes, so on and so forth, to identify pathogens and toxins in food. So overall, my whole career has been focused on determining quality and safety of foods, except that the technology platform that I have used have changed either due to the situation that I'm in terms of the state where the commodity is of primary interest, or the evolution of technology and technological growth. So that has been my career path in terms of my focus. I'm not sure if I answered that completely. Syed?
Yes, I think you're up to the point, but I want to ask the students, how many of you understood the English what he spoke? Are you comfortably understood? He is speaking Tamil also. Those who don't understand, you can ask him question in that also. Now, it's already midnight there. Okay, he spent it's midnight, 12 o'clock time, and he's awake for us, and he's awake for you students, not for big shots to take a photograph or get an award or something, right? So you have seen this program has been one silent program, all the three. Secondly, today also, without even a photo operation to show off, we are starting a program. So we have.
I do want to share one very interesting coincidence. I was at TNAU as a Fulbright specialist several years ago, and I gave a talk to a group such as yourself. And that was more than almost 8 to 10 years ago. And then I was at Cornell University in a grocery store. One student looked at me and stopped. "Sir, I know you." I said, "What do you mean? I have no clue. This is Ithaca, right, at Cornell University, upstate New York." And he said, I learned your talk, sir." So I was really surprised. So what I'm trying to say is that don't be shy, say hello and ask questions. You may never know when we will meet again. So take this as an opportunity to ask me anything you want to know. Ask me how the weather is today. We are all, air quality in US is terrible because of the smoke from Canada is coming in. We are asked to stay indoors, and we are all asked to wear masks, not because of COVID, but because of air quality is bad. or you can ask me what kind of food is available here, and I don't know. I'm just trying to give you ideas. I like to hear from you. Please go ahead. As I said,
So,
தமிழ்ல பேசுனா பேசுங்க. எனக்கு தமிழ் வரும். தமிழ்ல கூட பதில் சொல்லுவேன். Don't be shy.
Kannada also you can speak. I tell you, our guys are all well skilled. That's what the strength of agriculture engineers we have here from TNAU. Now, after, please ask any doubt you have. Make a connect. It's very important that you have opportunity to connect. You have any question? No question. You have to ask, please. Welcome. Don't feel it. He told. Don't hesitate.
Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, BTech Agriculture Engineering third year, sir. Sir, my question is like, US is little expensive, sir. So the students from India will get any scholarship or stipend as we get here. And the other question is like, apart from US, in processing sector, we can look up to any universities, sir. Any other countries which are good in food processing, sir, apart from USA.
Yeah, so if I understand the question correctly, you wanted to know the cost of education in the US and what other countries are possible for our students to go. Is that right? Okay.
He also looks for scholarship options.
Yeah. Well, in engineering, fortunately, if you are admitted, most of the places will provide you scholarship. Unlike computer science, I think that's the most formal, most popular route for most students is mom and dad gets a loan and the son or daughter goes to USA, do the computer science masters, and they get a job and pay the loan back. And it's a done deal. And unfortunately, in engineering, what we call it a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, we normally get what we call an assistantship. It is not a scholarship, meaning it is not a free money. Assistantship basically is a job. A job is to help you do your research, and that research becomes a part of the professor's project that he would get a grant from. So yes, it is very much possible to get a scholarship or assistantship when you come to study in the USA. That requires, it is a competitive process. So you have to be a good student, write good essay, and show that you are interested in doing research that will benefit the professor's project. So I think there are a number of things that has to match. As I said, almost every one of us from TNAU has come to agricultural engineering, higher education, are here because we received scholarship or assistantship. Nobody spent their money. In computer science, it's very different because they don't give you, in general, scholarship or assistantship, especially for master's degree. But in engineering, it is more common to get assistantship or scholarship than not. So you should not worry about the cost being high. Only cost for you is the application fee that you have to apply to several schools. I would encourage you to identify professors whose projects you think are interesting and email them and ask, hey, look, I'm interested in your work. This is I am. And is there an opportunity for me to pursue my master's or PhD with you? And I think if the professor replies and responds, your chances are reasonably good. So, and we should approach several professors, and sometimes you may not get the reply right away. Maybe a week or two later, you can send another gentle reminder, and then based on that, you can develop your application and apply. But in general, cost is not going to be a major factor in engineering sciences because we do get money to support your education because you will work toward our grant project. So that is not a major issue. I think in Canada also very similar in terms of supporting students for assistantship. UK, I know people go to UK and Australia, they all have a similar kind of a system, especially for engineering. So you shouldn't be too concerned about cost, because if you're good, I'm sure there will be places that you will get a support for your studies.
Yeah, I would like to add to Dr. Buddha's in my own experience. My sister's son in the 10 period, they have to pay flight ticket and they have to pay first semester fees. Then even first semester you could get later on job in the library. Then second semester, most of the professors they give you if you work on their line. Okay, otherwise, so it is possible, but you have to have that much money. I know my own daughter now, 6 years back, she studied, she took a management course. Management is expensive compared to engineering sciences. Management was somewhere from 45 in state universities to private universities, 90 lakhs somewhere last year. And whereas engineering, starting from 15 lakhs, this I know the figure because people are going from Bombay, my friends and all, I mentor a lot of people. 15 lakhs somewhere and goes up to 30. And those who want to study. And of course, some countries are almost education, tuition fees are free, like Germany or some of the Eastern European countries. But the value, what you want to go and study, I think Dr. Guna told very clearly. The example comes from my example. How I went to Bangkok, first of all. There was, I remember the application fees were 5 rupees, okay, foreign mail. And like I told you, I think sometimes my father gives 20 rupees pocket money for a month. So I cannot afford. So I saved somewhere. So I sent 20 applications. Where I got the addresses? Library. I used to spend more than 6 months' time. Even though I had all the extracurricular activity, really extracurricular activity, I was rogue rather, but still I spent the time to sit in the library and to look and read different universities. So I got 2 universities full scholarship, Newcastle upon Tyne in UK, and then AIT. So this all I followed from that out of the 20. So what Dr. Guna says now for you to give a idea, you have to first spend time to look in processing you told, find out, like you told about food safety is talking. So there are many fine heights. So you try to read about it, understand what it is. Okay. He also mentioned very important point. GPA is not only the criteria. Okay. Your communication skill, analytical skills, and really what you want to do. So you fix up that. Then I think going out is not a big problem. Australia is slightly cheaper. Canada is also slightly cheaper. Right? But then everything is whether 20 lakhs or 15 lakhs or whatever it is there. Loans are available. Of course, if you can, somebody can afford to give, they give without even 20, 25 lakhs. Most of the banks give you without any collateral. There are cases, my daughter, I had to give some collateral beginning, then after 1 year, they told not required. So it's a huge amount of return. But it's all very easy when you go there. But I think your attitude, what for you want to go is important. So I think, like you told in agricultural engineering, many professors he knows, so they will. Okay, any other question is there as an education? Please. Anything on the subject? Anybody else?
You guys have to come out.
You have to come out with questions. You cannot have any questions.
You should have the courage to raise the question.
Yeah.
So how about your own classmates? There was the problem. You should be
Okay,
shy.
okay. Exactly. So, you, any other questions you have? On any technical or anything? Okay. It's okay. Dr. Guna, thank
Yes,
you
sir.
very much for spending the real right time for waking up. And I'm very sure these um, students are really benefited because I can see their faces. They are hesitant to talk, but yesterday they were talking, but they have a bit reservation because you are a US professor. I mean, normally they have the reservation. So they'll come to you afterwards taking your email ID, everything will write. Please help them out because they are fresh. That's the reason I have come also spend 3 days. We want to break the ice and we want to make them to really come up in life. Thank you, Dr. Guna.
I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope I will be able to visit TNAU next time I'm in India, and look forward to talking to people. And I really want to appreciate Syed and his dedication. He's really, really spending a lot of time in helping not just the TNAU but the entire agricultural enterprise in India. And I really applaud what you do, Syed, and I appreciate this special opportunity you're providing for the students. And I'm glad to be part of it. And if someone wants to ask a question by email, please do so. I would make sure I reply. I may not be able to provide all the details, and don't ask me questions like what should I do, sir. I can probably give you some pointers. So don't. And I know sometimes it is you're hesitant to ask question in front of other friends, or maybe you don't anything to ask right now. But if things comes to your mind, you want to ask a question, send me an email. Dr. Syed knows my email address. He will share with you, and I'll be more than happy to respond. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Guna. One more thing to add what you told. Actually, this I'm taking as a model example. We want to observe the results of this batch of training, how it's going to work in technology or electronics, whatever it is going to perform in the next couple of years. Because AAAE, that's the Asian Association for Agricultural Engineering, where I am also small secretary. So we are very keen to implement the similar, different, maybe modified model throughout Asia. Where Thailand is looking for, because this is situation from almost all the agricultural engineers throughout this region. Now we have, I think, Dr. Guna, you may not be aware. Now we have an important guy who got up and spoke. So Venkatesan, he is also alumni, and he is actually TCS. He was heading the treasury. He retired last month. 1 month he's here. He's the president of TNAU Agricultural Engineers Alumni Association. So he is also giving the trust here to see how we can make the alumni shine TNAU once again. Thank you, Dr. Guna.
Thank you very much. Enjoy and have a great day, rest of the day. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck to you all. Bye.
Thank you. It's okay. We stand to see that he's asking questions. Suddenly, you also will not have questions. I know. I remember when I was studying, Dr. Gajan Singh brought one of the biggest guys from US to speak in the auditorium, one auditorium, BE when he was studying. And all the BE batch, I think 4 years batch was there. We are in the final year, I think. I was sitting in the second row, third row. Chancellor, William Chancellor. If you Google the name, you'll find Dr. William Chancellor. He's one of the biggest guys in those days in agriculture, biggest guy. So he visited TNAU. And sitting there after his talk, which was about 45 minutes, 1 hour, he asked me, truly, I didn't understand a single word of it. Okay, roughly me. We could not understand, that's the truth. And then he asked the same way, asked questions. And only K.R. Swamidasan asked one question in a slang of American word way of talking. The question itself we didn't understand. So the total thing that took us a long time afterwards, after I graduated, to understand really what happened, what was the topic we talked. So it happens like that. So don't worry about it.
Not to break the ice.
Huh?
Not to break the ice.
It takes time, but I think you've never been probably interactive sessions. That's why I made you to sit. Interaction is something is what makes you learn more. Whatever I ask you to interact. Tell me any topic. We have some more time because we have a next speaker after some time only. We'll keep this as it is alive. We have to